Okay, this is Judge Aspinwall. Can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We hear you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Great.
so now everyone's here. Technical issues are out of the way. I should formally introduce myself. Hello, I am Jason Weiss. I am the chairperson of the committee. Welcome to the May 8th Disciplinary Petition Committee hearing. Before we convene, I would like to remind everyone present that the board is a consumer protection agency charged with administering and enforcing pharmacy law. Where protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. As I facilitate this meeting, I will announce when we are accepting public comment. I have advised the moderator to allot 3 minutes to each individual providing comments. We will begin with public comments for individuals attending in person, followed by public comments by individuals participating via WebEx. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting. Before we get started, I would like to ask staff moderating the meeting to provide general instructions. Sarah?
This is the moderator. When public comment is requested, I will turn on the WebEx question and answer feature to facilitate this. Comments should be limited to the topic that is addressed during that specific agenda item. Instructions will be displayed on the screen each time, and people on WebEx may click on the question mark, typically at the lower right-hand corner of their WebEx screen, type the word comment into the text box, and then click send for the request to be recognized. You may also choose to raise your hand by clicking the hand icon at the bottom row of your WebEx screen, or if you're an audio only participant, you may press *3 on your device to raise your hand. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak with a 10-second warning, and at the end of that time, your microphone will then be muted and we will move on to the next commenter. I believe that's all the instructions that I have.
Thank you very much. I would now like to take a roll call to establish quorum. Indira Cameron Banks. I don't think she's here yet. Jesse Crowley.
Good morning, licensing member present.
Good morning, KK Jha.
Good morning, licensing member present.
Good morning, Satinder Sandhu.
Licensee member present.
Good morning, and Nicole.
Good morning, licensee member present.
Thank you, and good morning all. Again, I'm Jason Weiss, and I am a public member of the board. A quorum of the committee has been established. Before we move to the next agenda item, I would like to remind committee members participating via WebEx to please remain visible on camera throughout the open portion of today's meeting. Members, if you need to temporarily turn off your camera due to challenges with internet connectivity, please remember to announce the reason for your non-appearance when you turn off your camera. Let's move on to agenda item 2, public comment for items not on the agenda. We will now accept public comment for items not on the agenda. You're not required to identify yourself, but you may do so. I would like to remind everyone that the committee cannot take action on these items except to decide whether to place an item on a future agenda. Members, following review of the public comments for this agenda item, I will ask members to comment on what, if any, items should be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, the agenda item is not intended to be a discussion, rather an opportunity for members of the committee and board members of the committee and members of the public to request consideration of an item for future placement on an agenda, at which time discussion may occur. We will begin with public comment from individuals participating in our Sacramento location. Anne? Seeing none, moderator, we are ready for public comment from individuals participating via WebEx.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the committee, I've opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you'd like to make a comment for items not on the agenda, please click the Q&A icon located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, or use the raise hand function. And audio-only participants may raise their hand by pressing *3 on their device. And it looks like we have a request from John Gray. John, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 10-second warning. Please click the unmute me button when the prompt appears on your device.
Hi, good morning. This is John Gray. I'm a registered pharmacist with Kaiser Permanente. Thanks very much for the opportunity to comment. I would like to ask the board to agendize a policy discussion related to pharmacist corresponding responsibility. Specifically, we have observed that there is the potential for tension between the corresponding responsibility statute in Health and Safety Code 11153 and the prohibition on obstructing an individual from filling a prescription in Business and Professions Code 733. We recognize that the facts and circumstances of each instance in which a pharmacist exercises their corresponding responsibility will vary. However, we also believe that the regulated public would benefit from a board policy statement addressing best practices for establishing and documenting that a prescription is contrary to law, as described in Business and Professions Code 733B1, when a pharmacist elects to exercise their corresponding responsibility and refuse to fill a prescription. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment and for considering this suggestion.
All right, this is the moderator. Appears there are no further requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Members, I will now bring the discussion back to the committee. Are there any items you would like to place on a future agenda?
Hi, Jason. This is Nicole. I agree with the commenter. I would like to see a discussion about corresponding responsibility and how it interacts with those sections of the law.
I think it probably would be best to be heard. I'm not sure what committee. Anne, would you be able to advise or how we move forward with this?
I'm happy to bring this to the board president and get his recommendation on which committee it should be referred to.
Sounds great. Thank you.
I've just lost sound from Mr. Weiss.
I did too.
Nice.
Is anyone able to hear me? This is Timothy Aspinwall.
This is the moderator. Yeah.
Oh, I was muted. I see what happened. Sorry about that, everybody. We're going to agenda item 3, petition for reinstatement of licensure, early termination, or other modification of penalty. As included on the agenda, we will be considering several petitions today. I would now like to turn the meeting over to Administrative Law Judge Timothy Aspinwall to preside over hearings. Your Honor.
Thank you very much. And I apologize for the technical difficulties that I experienced. I'm happy to be with the board members and with members of the public to hear these petitions. First on the agenda is, and we are now on the record in the matter of the petition for early termination of probation of Karen Gary Khachatrian. This is Board of Pharmacy case number 6926. Again, my name is Timothy Aspinwall. I'm the administrative law judge assigned to preside at this portion of the hearing. And may I please have appearances for the petitioner and for also members of, for the people. I believe we have a Deputy Attorney General present. So,
good morning, Your Honor. Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma. I'm appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Herbert L. Weinberg of the Fenton Law Group, appearing on behalf of the petitioner Karen G. Khachatrian.
And is the petitioner present?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And typically I offer the Deputy Attorney General an opportunity to summarize the the case and to offer any exhibits.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll first provide a summary of the case, and then I'll mark for identification the petition packet and related documents. We're here today on a petition for early termination of probation. The underlying accusation alleged petitioner, who is an owner of a pharmacy, violated laws and regulations governing the practice of pharmacy. The violations varied from a technician not having a badge to a license not being posted, approximately 64 prescriptions which were not authorized, improper prescription labeling, lack of theft and impairment policies, records not kept on site, electronic records unavailable, technicians unsupervised in a pharmacy, no notice to consumer poster, no quality assurance program, fabricating prescriptions, falsely completing the self-assessment form, subverting an investigation, lack of interpretive services policy, no point to your language sign, unauthorized access by a technician, lack of a policy in absence of a pharmacist, no self-assessment of a pharmacy by pharmacist in charge, early fills for controlled substances, technician job duties, no inventory of controlled substances, failure to maintain an accurate disposition and inventory records, and unprofessional conduct. Effective September 29th, 2021, petitioner's license was revoked. The revocation was stayed. He was placed on probation for 5 years under certain terms and conditions. To date, petitioner has been compliant with quarterly reporting to the board, supervision requirements, payments for probation monitoring, completion of remedial education, completion of ethics, and not acquiring any new ownership or management of licensed premises. With regards to costs, he owed $35,000. He has a remaining balance of $11,640. Petitioner also told his probation for 17 months from November 2021 to March of 2023 because he was not able to meet the minimum work requirement. Petitioner has now filed a petition for early termination of probation, and included in his petition were the following documents. We had 10 letters of recommendation, 4 which were outdated and 2 of which were duplicates. The other 6 were verified by board staff. He submitted continuing education certificates, as well as employment-related documentation, including verification of employment, quarterly reports, and employment-seeking efforts. Exhibit 1 is the petition packet, which I'd like to mark. That includes the documents that I just described that were attached to his packet, as well as the notice of hearing, the memorandum to the board, and the underlying decision and order. The board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same set of exhibits, and the redacted petition packet has been filed with the Office of Administrative Hearings. The entire packet is Bates labeled AGO 001 through AGO 145. We request that that be marked and admitted.
The petition packet is marked. Any objection to it being admitted as Exhibit 1?
No objection.
And the petition packet marked as Exhibit 1 is admitted in evidence for all purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's now petitioner's opportunity to address the board.
Mr. Weinberg, is there anything you wish to say at this point?
I would like actually to put Mr. Kachatrian on the stand and question him under oath. So I'm going to turn this computer around so that he will be on screen and I will not be, if that's okay with you.
That's okay, and I will swear the petitioner in.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. If you please raise your right hand, I'll swear you in.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And please proceed with what it is you wish the board members to know.
So Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Dr. Weinberg.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. The you agreed in September, as Ms. Trauma said, in September of 2021 to accept a stipulated settlement agreement rather than go to hearing, calling for 5 years of probation. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And today you're seeking to terminate your probation in less than 5 years. Is that correct?
yes.
Yes, okay. And on what basis are you asking for that? I'm going to be asking you some questions to help with that question of mine, which is rhetorical, but on what basis, in general, are you asking for the early termination?
The basis I'm asking for early termination is I cannot find a job as a pharmacist. I've tried, I cannot find a job.
Can you describe? I know in the petition itself, as described by Deputy Attorney General Trauma, there are answers to questions that are asked in the petition, and there's also a documentation of your efforts to obtain a job. But could you, in general terms, describe those efforts to obtain a job as a pharmacist?
Sure. Nowadays, every employment, they suggest to go online and apply online on internet, Indeed and different platforms. And I've done that. I've also walked into pharmacies with resume. I got turned down. I mean, I've tried many different sources to find a job, and I was unsuccessful.
Have you tried to find employment with any of the chain drugstores?
Yes, I have.
And what was the result there?
The result was unsuccessful. Their answer was, I'm on probation. They don't want to have any headaches with me, so they just turned me down.
And the results of your efforts in the independent pharmacies that you visited?
Very similar. They're overstaffed and unsuccessful because I'm on probation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you presently employed as a pharmacist?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And what is the nature of your present employment?
I work for Beaton MD INC in a doctor's office in Burbank, California, under Dr. Duong's care.
And what are your duties?
My duties are I consult patients with medications, drug-drug interactions, side effects, educate patients how to use insulin, inhalers, and any other questions they might have regarding to their drug therapy.
Okay. And how many days a week do you do that?
I do 5 days a week, full-time position.
And for how long have you been doing that?
Been doing that very close to more than a year now.
All right. And are you compensated for that employment?
No, sir.
So you have no income from that employment?
I have no income.
And do you have any income from any other source?
No, I do not.
Where are you living?
I'm living with my mother.
And why is that?
I cannot afford to live on my own, have my own apartment.
And does your mother have income?
Yes, she does.
Okay, and what's the source of her income?
She's on fixed Social Security income.
Is the reason, so one of the reasons, as I understand it, that you're asking for a termination of probation is that you can't find a job as a pharmacist that pays you money.
Yes.
Okay. Give me a moment.
Sure.
You were the pharmacist in charge at UMC Pharmacy. There are two UMC pharmacies, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And they're located where?
located in Hollywood, East Hollywood, and in Burbank.
Okay. And you were the pharmacist in charge for both of those stores?
Yes, I was.
Right, okay. And which of the, did you work both of those stores?
I did.
Okay. And when you were not when you were working at one store, well, was there a pharmacist at the other store?
Yes.
And who was that?
It was Jerry Newman.
I see. And these pharmacies are closed now, are they not?
Yes, they are.
The list of violations alleged in the accusation are many, as described by Deputy Attorney General Trump.
Yes.
Had you been a pharmacist in charge? When did you get your license originally? Your pharmacist license?
2005.
Okay. And when did you obtain ownership of the first of the UMC stores?
2009
Okay.
of October, I believe.
So in that 4-year period between, did you ever serve as a pharmacist in charge anywhere?
No.
Briefly, can you describe the cause of your failures as the pharmacist in charge, which had been, again, enumerated by Deputy Attorney General Trauma? To what do you owe them?
It was negligence to my profession, which I love and respect. Was under a lot of stress. There's many things that it's in accusations, and I acknowledge them, and I take full responsibility of them. However, I've learned throughout the years after what have happened with me, and I overgrown, and I'm a better person now as I used to be while being in pharmacist in charge in those 2 locations.
Do you believe that now you're in a better position to practice as a pharmacist than you were when you were involved in those violations?
Yes, I am.
Give me just another second. I have nothing further.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Trauma, do you have questions of the petitioner?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. In your own words, can you explain why you're on probation?
Yes. I'm on probation because I was negligent to the pharmacy laws and regulations. I was carried away. I was not paying attention to rules and regulations, unfortunately. And my head was not straight. I was not thinking straight at the time because of being extremely stressed running 2 pharmacies simultaneously. So that's not an excuse. It's just like it was too much for me. And at that time, I didn't know that I cannot handle it. But now, seeing and reading all the accusations, I fully acknowledge and take ownership of all of the accusations.
At the time of the violations, did you know that you had so many violations at your pharmacies?
No, I did not know.
I mean, there are so many. We went through them at the beginning of this. I guess if you could just kind of explain to the board how you could have let that happen.
Sure, I can. I had business to take care of, two pharmacies to take care of, and I was not aware of these forms that I should have posters posted in the pharmacy, record keeping, such as technicians with badge or without badge. So therefore, I acknowledge those wrongdoings.
So those like basic requirements, like having, you know, QA program, notice to consumer poster, interpretive services, self-assessments, you weren't aware of those as a pharmacist in charge of a pharmacy?
I did self-assessment and for many years. And then throughout the years, I became overwhelmed and I had no recollections of when I should do self-assessments and not. I do understand it's every 2 years, every year. And at that time, just got carried away.
Now, one of the allegations is you had an unsupervised technician alone and working in the pharmacy. What led that to happen? How could you have allowed that to happen?
Sure. That happened is because I had 2 locations. I was full-time in any one of those locations at a time. So therefore, I had a pharmacist working for the company at the time. I had no idea that he wouldn't show up to work because I was, for example, if I was in Burbank, I was there full-time in Burbank. If I was in Los Angeles, I was full-time in Los Angeles. So I had no knowing of where is my pharmacist, how come he didn't show up to work, and nobody will tell me that. And that's what happened with me.
In your statement, in your petition, I believe it's base label AGO 45, you state that there are reasons that led me to make the decision that I made. Unless I'm able to identify these reasons and honestly reflect on how my behavior has impacted the people around me, I am at risk of similar behavior in the future. What are the reasons that led you to the decisions you made?
The reasons that made me decisions to make is I wasn't aware of any wrongdoing at the time, and I wasn't thinking straight, unfortunately. And I take full responsibility for that. As being a pharmacist in charge, I should be aware of everything that goes on in the pharmacies. But at that time, I wasn't paying attention.
Was money ever a motivating factor in any of the decisions that you were making?
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Was money, profits, ever a motivating factor?
No.
How, if at all, could the violations at your pharmacy have caused harm to patients?
It can cause harm to patients of not being up to date with record keeping and being more successful to patients. If patient is stop by at the pharmacy, likes to pick up a prescription, if there's no pharmacist present, that's not the right thing to have, because that's not how things work. You must have a pharmacist at all times.
What has probation taught you?
Probation has taught me that there are a set of rules and regulations that every licensed pharmacist should obey, including myself. And it taught me a very hard lesson that being fully committed as being a pharmacist in charge, or as just being a pharmacist, I should be aware of all the rules and regulations at all times.
What is your plan if you get off of probation?
My plan is to go back to pharmacies, to go back to as a pharmacist and continue on the profession I chose many years ago, which I love and I cherish to date, to give back to the community. It's my plan.
Do you plan to go back to being a pharmacist in charge?
No,
Do you have any plans to own a pharmacy in the future?
no, not at this time.
So you went on probation in September of 2021, correct?
Yes,
And then from November of 2021 to March of 2023, you were in a told status because you couldn't find work as a pharmacist, correct?
Correct.
And I know you've testified about your efforts and that no one wanted to hire you. So there are a lot of pharmacists that are on probation and they are able to find work. Why do you think you had such a hard time finding work?
I have no idea. I've tried different avenues to go online, to go in person. I was just unable to find a job. Even
So-
though I have so many years of experience. It's a matter of fact, I did apply for Saban Community Pharmacy, and they were on the verge of hiring me, but I did stated that I'm on probation. Maybe they were not paying attention in the end towards the hiring period. I got a phone call from the director saying that, oh, you're on probation, so I'm so sorry, we cannot take you as a staff pharmacist.
So what were you doing with your time between November of 2021 and March of 2023 when you were in that told status and not able to work as a pharmacist?
Looking for work. Daily looking for work on internet and walking into pharmacies.
Okay, and then you started working for the doctor in April of 2023, correct?
Correct.
And you've been doing that since.
Yes.
And in that role, you aren't filling or dispensing any drugs, correct?
No.
You had several character reference letters in your packet, and some of these authors were not aware of your discipline. Did you tell all of the authors about the discipline that was imposed?
No.
And why not?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I was really going through hard times at the time when I got disciplined. So many of my patients, even the authors, they felt bad that the pharmacy has closed. So some of them have idea, some of them have no idea what had happened.
Okay. I don't have anything further.
Thank you.
Okay, now I would like to turn to the board members and for any possible questions. And Dr. Crowley, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So going back just a little bit, what was your experience working in pharmacy prior to opening your own pharmacy?
My experience prior to owning my own pharmacy?
Yes.
Yeah. I've worked many pharmacies, and my dream was to have my own pharmacy one day. And I went to a lot of pharmacies. I love the world of pharmacy. I love what I did, and I still love what I do. And I gained as much experience as I possibly can in order to be on my own.
Okay. Did you have experience working in community pharmacy?
Yes.
So I know that you said that you want to continue working as a pharmacist. Are you planning to stay in community pharmacy if the probation is lifted?
Yes.
Okay. So looking through some of the job applications in the petition packet, I noticed a lot of those jobs are not necessarily in community. There were positions you applied to that were community, but there were also some inpatient positions, things like that, which, you know, without a background in inpatient, it is very difficult to get into a position like that. And so as a follow-up to that, I'm just kind of curious what platforms you're using to apply to pharmacies. Are you strictly using Indeed? Are you applying directly through pharmacy websites? Can you give some more background information to that?
Sure. I used Indeed because that's what many companies offer nowadays. The only people that you can actually go and drop off your resumes is the independent pharmacies. but anywhere else from CVS to Target to outpatient, Kaiser to outpatient, any hospital setting, they require Indeed platform in order to apply for a job.
Okay. I will just point out from my experience, a lot of these websites that aren't directly the company websites may not actually be a true position. And so moving forward, just as a little piece of advice, it may be good to try to apply directly through the website, like through the Kaiser website and things like that. I apologize for my dogs barking in the background. One moment. Sorry about that. One moment.
I missed the question, I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Let me see. I think that was really my last question, though, is strictly kind of about the application process, because it is really competitive, especially in the Los Angeles area. But I wish you luck. I know how difficult it is to find a job. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Joss, do you have questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Is it okay if I call you Gary? I don't want to butcher your last name.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So, Gary, was it your decision to be PIC at both locations? And what was the logic or thinking behind assuming responsibility for 2 locations?
Yes, it was my decision to be PIC on both locations.
And was that decision based on financial viability of two pharmacies, or was there some other logic? What was your thinking in being PIC at 2 locations?
Since I opened up the pharmacies, I thought it would be best for me to be the PIC at the time for both locations.
Thank you. No further questions, sir.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Sandhu, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. I have thank you, Gary, for that extensive description. I have just a few questions. You mentioned in questioning that you had completed self-assessment forms in the past, and and you also answered that you weren't aware of the loss or the violations that were captured, numerous ones. When you did the self-assessment in the past, did you read through all the regulations that are mentioned in there? Because it pretty much describes the responsibility of the PIC. And if you had, like, how did you not, can you walk me through, like, how did you not know all the rules of what needs to be done in the pharmacy?
Sure. In the beginning, I was very prompt, reading all the questions, answering them very truthfully. However, as time passed on, I got overwhelmed with business, with patient, with employees, with family issues. So everything just got kind of bundled, and towards the end, before my I guess accusations, I was not paying attention at all. And I take full responsibility for not being 100% with me and with the Board of Pharmacy. I just let it go without paying any attention to it.
Okay, I'm not sure if did you have thank you for answering that. I don't have any further question on that, but I have another question. Do you read the content of the letters that people wrote on your behalf?
Yes.
Okay, were you able to read Dr. Duang's letter? His
yes.
He mentions reason for your the coupon usage and so on. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes.
pharmaceutical reps, and he talks about that?
Yes, there were two pharmaceutical reps, and one of them, I was dating her, and I thought I found love, and I got probably into the mix, entrapment, and I didn't know at the time, and I was not even aware of what I was doing, to be honest with you, because I was blinded by love. I was dating this pharmaceutical rep, and that's the explanation for Dr. Duane.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the honesty. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Thibault, do you have questions?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Gary. Thank you so much for being with us today. We know this is a lot. So my questions were about if you had worked in a pharmacy before you purchased these, you had worked in pharmacies for about 4 years. Did those pharmacies not do all of these things, have the posters and, not have techs, have keys? Like, were you not exposed to these things at the pharmacies you worked at before?
No,
So none of the pharmacies how many pharmacies did you work at, and none of them did any of these
well,
things?
I worked for big chains, so I really cared about being as a pharmacist because working for big chains, you would assume they're up to date with the laws, posters, and etc. So my duty was to walk in and be as a pharmacist and check prescriptions and help patients with their medication therapy, any other questions regarding to medication. I was not, did not pay attention if there's posters or not.
Got it. So since you've been on probation, since you haven't been working in a traditional pharmacy setting, and therefore haven't got to be exposed to all of these things that you're supposed to be working on, how have you learned all of these things that you would then apply, if you go back to an unrestricted license?
Sure, I've read the requirements, what is necessary to have and to have posted in the pharmacies, regulations, and whatever that applies for any given pharmacy to carry while they're open for business. I've learned, and I walked into many pharmacies because I was dropping off resumes, and I've seen them. I start paying attention, and I was much aware of my surroundings now as opposed to many years ago.
Great, thank you so much. I don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. White, do you have questions?
I think all of my questions were already asked, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So let me turn to the Deputy Attorney General. Do you have any follow-up questions, Ms. Trauma?
I do not. Thank you.
And Mr. Weinberg, do you have follow-up questions?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Weinberg, would you or your client like to give a closing statement?
Give me a moment. Did you want to say something more?
You can say something. Sure.
Yes, I'll have a brief closing statement.
Thank you so much for all of your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just an observation. I practiced pharmacy for 20 years in a better time for an independent pharmacy and owned 11 pharmacies. And when I got my doctor of pharmacy degree from USC, there were 3 pharmacy schools in the state of California. Now there's 14. And they're pumping out pharmacists at a great pace. And it's become increasingly difficult. I represent 200 to 300 pharmacists and pharmacies in California. And it's become, the information I'm receiving, it's become very difficult to find a job. Somebody living in Encino may get 3 days in Temecula, but can't get anything closer, that type of thing. So And certainly Gary has experienced that. My graduation, Save On drugstores used to pay the graduate a $5,000 bonus if they promised to work for them for 2 years. Today, it's unheard of, and the difficulty is there. I've agonized with Gary through his efforts to daily to stopping and asking and begging people to hire him, and without results. We earnestly request the board to allow Gary, number one, to practice the profession that he's chosen and that he loves, and two, to be able to make a living at doing so, which he should be able to overcome the stigma of discipline and get gainful employment. And we earnestly request the board to grant this request. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Trauma, do you have any final words for the board?
Yes, Your Honor. The underlying decision had 23 causes for discipline and ran the gamut from unsupervised technicians to unauthorized prescriptions to not meeting basic pharmacy requirements. There were significant egregious violations at this pharmacy, and petitioner admits them, but it's not clear if he completely understands the significance of the conduct. And his testimony was inconsistent at times. He stated at times that he wasn't aware of some of the regulations, but then he said that he did know of it and he did have self-assessments. He was put on a 5-year probationary term, which became effective September of 2021. However, he's been told for 17 months from November of 2021 to March of 2023. And while he has been working for this doctor since April of 2023, that only really gives the board about a year where they were able to monitor his practice as a pharmacist. And it's only in a limited setting because he's not in a traditional pharmacy setting. So given those facts, not enough time has passed. He needs more time working while on probation so that the board can effectively monitor him, ensure he's safe. While I understand his plight to find gainful employment, the board's primary concern is public protection. So for those reasons, the people oppose the petition.
Okay, thank you. And is the matter submitted? Mr. Weinberg, is the matter submitted?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, the case is submitted and the record is closed. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Let me ask if we're ready to move on to the next petition.
Your Honor, would it be possible to take a 10-minute break now and then, and while we break, have the petitioner's mic and camera checked?
Absolutely. We will be on recess until 10:30. We are off the record until that time.
Good morning, it's 10:30. I'd like to take roll to make sure everyone is back in attendance. So, moderator, are you there?
This is the moderator.
Okay, great. And we're recording?
Yep.
Okay, so Indira Cameron Banks, I don't think she's here. So Jesse Crowley?
Yeah.
KK Jha? We'll come back to you, KK. Satinder Sandhu?
Present.
Hi, Satinder. Nicole Tebow?
Here.
KK, have you returned?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hi, KK. Sarah, it looks like we are all here. Back to you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we are on the record in the matter of the petition for early termination of probation filed by Peter Onwumiri. This is Board of Pharmacy case number 5488. My name is Timothy Aspinwall. I'm the administrative law judge assigned to preside over the hearing of this matter. And may I please have appearances starting with the Deputy Attorney General, who is present to introduce the case.
Good morning, Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma. I'm appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. And for the petitioner?
Good morning. Ivan Petrzulka appearing on behalf of Peter Onwumiri.
Okay, and Mr. Onwumiri is present, correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Trauma, would you please introduce the case?
Your Honor, we're here today on a petition for an early termination of probation. The underlying accusation alleged that petitioner, as president and pharmacist in charge of a pharmacy, clearly and excessively furnished controlled substances without verifying legitimate medical purpose, violated statutes or regulations governing controlled substances and dangerous drugs, committed gross negligence and or incompetence, unprofessional conduct, and failed to comply with state and federal laws. Specifically, the board's audit revealed that between January 1st of 2011 and January 21st of 2013, petitioner dispensed over 12,000 controlled substances with significant red flags, including approximately 96% of the prescriptions paid in cash, the same doctor prescribing the same drugs, prescription pad numbers in sequence, and prescription numbers in sequence, among other red flags. The drugs included oxycodone, hydrocodone, APAP, and Soma. During that same time period, petitioner's pharmacy had a combined profit margin of over $619,000. Effective June 1st, 2018, his pharmacist license was revoked and it was stayed, placed on probation for 7 years. To date, petitioner has been compliant with all of the terms and conditions of his probation. Those include quarterly reporting, continuing education, notification to employers, payment of costs in the amount of $32,632, which is paid in full, payment of probation monitoring costs, conforming to current DEA registration, submission of quarterly reports to the board detailing his total acquisition and disposition of controlled substances, and completion of the ethics course. This is petitioner's second petition for early termination of probation. The first petition was denied effective November 24th, 2021. It was denied because petitioner did not demonstrate sufficient rehabilitation to justify a reduction of the penalty that the board imposed. And they found that his testimony about the high volume orders he filled in February of 2012 was less than forthcoming. The decision found that petitioner would continue to benefit from board oversight, that such oversight during the remaining term of petitioner's probation would help him develop as a pharmacist and allow him to show that he is able to comply with the probationary terms that required him to report controlled substances he dispenses and maintain a separate file of all records pertaining to controlled substances. As of June 1st, 2021, petitioner is no longer prohibited by the terms of probation from dispensing Schedule 2, 3, 4, and 5 drugs. It has been about 2.5 years since his last petition. He's now filed another petition for early termination of probation, and included in his packet are 6 letters of recommendation, all verified by board staff. He submitted continuing education certificates, as well as a detailed letter from his attorney, new policies and procedures on dispensing controlled substances, confirmation regarding the professional lecture that he gave at Blue Sky Wellness Center, and the memorandum of understanding concerning the Lock It Up project. I'd like to mark as Exhibit 1, the petition packet includes the documents that I just described, as well as the notice of hearing, the memorandum to the board, and the underlying decisions and orders. The board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same set of exhibits, and the redacted petition has been uploaded to the OAH system. Yesterday, petitioner added additional continuing education certificates, which were also sent to board members and uploaded to the Office of Administrative Hearings. The entire packet, including those new documents from yesterday, are Bates labeled AGO 001 through AGO 464. Request that that be marked and admitted as Exhibit 1.
Any objection to Exhibit 1 being marked and admitted?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 1 is so marked and admitted for all purposes.
Thank you. It is now petitioner and his counsel's opportunity to address the board.
Okay. Mr. Petrozelka, how do you wish to proceed? Do you wish to give any opening or go directly to the petitioner's statements or testimony?
I would like to make a brief opening statement, and then I would like to call Mr. Onwumere to the stand.
Okay.
Honorable Judge Aspinwall and members of the board, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to present this renewed petition for early termination of probation on behalf of Mr. Peter Onwumere. We acknowledge that these petitions are not granted lightly, and only in cases where the petitioner can sufficiently demonstrate his rehabilitation with respect to the deficiencies identified during the investigation and as causes for discipline in his disciplinary order. We're certainly not here today with any sense of entitlement, but with a humble request for reprieve in the light of Mr. Onwumere's continuing and strong rehabilitation efforts that he put forth over the last 6 years. The person who stands before you today is certainly different from the person who committed the acts outlined in the accusation over 10 years ago. And Mr. Onwumere today fully understands his role in his failures and the critical importance of pharmacists in preventing abuse and diversion of controlled substances within the healthcare system. As Ms. Trama outlined, the initial probationary term was for 7 years, starting June 21st of 2018, I believe. The principal causes for discipline were numerous violations of the Controlled Substance Act and the corresponding responsibility for legitimacy of prescriptions for controlled substances. In 2021, the board had kindly granted the petition for early termination of the pharmacy, that would be Cedar Pharmacy, but denied Mr. Onwumere's individual petition because at that time, he was not able to sufficiently establish rehabilitation with respect to dispensing of controlled substances, as his ability to dispense controlled substances during the first several years of probation was restricted by the terms of the probation. Today, almost 2.5 years after the removal of the restrictions, we're here again before you to respectfully plead for shortening of Mr. Onwumere's probationary term. He's been on probation for approximately 6 years today, in full compliance with the probationary terms. The principal reason for granting this petition, we believe, is Mr. Onwumere's continuing rehabilitation efforts. Since the last petition, Mr. Onwumere completed over 350 hours of continuing education, including 2 board-sponsored full-day events, specifically targeted at prevention of abuse and diversion of controlled substances. Mr. Onwumere had significantly modified his practices, and over the last 2.5 years, he's been engaged in dispensing of all schedules of controlled substances. It has been more than 10 years from the offending conduct, and Mr. Onwumere and his pharmacy is continuously experiencing hardship as a result of the ongoing probation, particularly in the area of PBM contracts with various insurers who appear to deny contracts to Cedar Pharmacy based on Mr. Onwumere's continuing probation. His life, both professional and personal, has been turned upside down by the events that transpired since the board discovered the deficiencies. And Mr. Onwumere has no one else to blame for this but himself, and he fully understands that he's completely at fault. But we respectfully argue that the testimony and the documents submitted to this petition will establish that at this present time, continuing probation for Mr. Onwumere would serve no other purpose than punitive one. And therefore, we respectfully submit that the petition should be granted. And I would like to call Mr. Onwumere and testify on his behalf now.
Okay, Mr. Onwumere, if you please raise your right hand, I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Mr. Petrozelka, please proceed with questioning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Ivan.
How long have you been practicing as a pharmacist in California?
For 20 years now.
And where did you get your pharmacy education?
From my home country, Nigeria.
When you became pharmacist, were you educated in any formal way on the concept of corresponding responsibility and dispensing of controlled substances?
Not exactly. I wasn't aware of the concept at all.
You're aware of that concept today?
Of course I am.
Okay. So what is your primary area of practice?
Community pharmacy, retail.
Okay. You opened the Cedar Pharmacy from scratch, and you've been the owner of the pharmacy ever since it opened. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, over a decade ago, you've made some serious mistakes, and the areas of deficiencies outlined in the accusation presented some serious failures on your part as both the pharmacist in charge, and the business owner. And I apologize. So can you tell us your recollection of what led to your probation? What did you do wrong 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was a new business. We just opened. And I wasn't familiar with the concept of corresponding, responsibility, about how to identify red flags and all that. But today, I've over the course of my probation, I know what they are. I know when they spot, red flags, and if any red flags is not resolved in the pharmacy, I cannot fill the controlled substance. And then, being a new business, in my head, I was trying to grow the company, and due to my foolishness, I dispense prescriptions I have no business dispensing, and that led to opioid, diversion, which I am very sorry. But today I know my corresponding responsibility. I know when people come into my pharmacy with a bunch of prescriptions from the same doctor, with the same medications, and with the same diagnosis code, I know this is a big red flag. I cannot feel it. or when people travel from a distance, not near my pharmacy, from a doctor, I have no idea who it is. I mean, I cannot feel it. So I know I made a mistake, and I'm very sorry about it. I'm not perfect in any way, but I've learned from my mistakes, and this has really humbled me a lot. You know, so I'm so glad that the board gave me a chance to come back. You know, in 2021, the board told me that, I remember specifically the Deputy Attorney General said that they're going to reinstate my pharmacy, the company license, to see how I manage, you know, filling controlled substance. That's exactly how she said it. She see how I'm going to manage. And today I've done it for almost 2.5 years. I mean, I can never repeat the same mistake again. I can never do that because I know better. I'm no longer the same pharmacist I was 10 years ago. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So when you made some changes in your practice, and those changes were quite significant. I believe you've modified your policies and procedures, and you created some new policies and procedures. So looking in retrospect at the prescriptions that you filled 10 years ago, if a prescription like that would walk in the door today, what would be your response to that?
I will not fill it. Obviously, I mean, knowing red flags is, now I know all my red flags. I mean, if somebody walks in with, like say a young person walks in with a prescription with a large amount of, you know, opioids, they are just young people. I mean, I know that. I mean, there's no, they're not terminally ill patients. I know the red flags to look for. Once we can resolve it, I don't fill the prescriptions. As a matter of fact, I have in my pharmacy a file of prescriptions I rejected, you know, so I know better now as a pharmacist.
So, you know, one of the principal allegations in the initial accusation was related to the disproportionate cash payments. And you realize that the board must necessarily conclude that at that time you placed your business profits or personal profits above the concerns for public safety. How do you view that, you know, from the perspective of what you've learned over the last 6 years?
As I said, I was foolish because I was tempted by the money, the cash paying patients because I was a new company. I was more focused on growing the business, so I was tempted. But today, I realized my mistakes, that I was foolish to even dispense those prescriptions.
So how do we know that you're not going to make the same mistake again? If somebody walks in with a wad of cash into your pharmacy and say, I have a prescription for 300 tablets of OxyContin here. How do we know that you're not going to do the same thing that you did 10 years ago?
I will not, because, okay, when I appeared before the board in 2021, they lifted my probation with the pharmacy for me to fill all controlled substance. And I have been doing that. So I cannot put myself through that again. Yeah, I cannot do that. Okay. I see, in my pharmacy, I have a policy and procedure which we follow. That procedure is our gold standard, and I can't deviate from it.
So after the first petition or during the first petition hearing, some of the board members have brought up a very valid point that you really had during the first several years of your probation, you really had not had the opportunity to demonstrate dispensing of your responsibility for dispensing of controlled substances other than the restricted ones for Fresno County mental health. So now it's been about 2.5 years. How do you feel about dispensing of controlled substances in general? Is it now a part of your routine practice, or are you still shying away from dispensing of controlled substances?
No, we do. It's now part of my practice. You know, it's like when we have a customer, we first of all we have to verify the prescription, call the doctor, the prescriber. I mean, we document everything we have to do before we will fill it. If we can't resolve any red flags, we do not fill the prescription. And also, we also let the doctor know that we didn't resolve red flags. We're not, okay, like for instance, let me give you an example. Customers have called our pharmacy in the past 2.5 years that they used to go to Walgreens and CVS. When they call us, they say, "Oh, can I come to your pharmacy?" And I'll say, "Can you come in with your profile? Let me see what you're taking." You know, so when they come with your profile, they're this mother, they're this girl, she came with her parents. Both parents are on narco, she's on narco. Combined is about 350 narco for a whole family. And I looked at her profile, I said to them that this is a lot of narco for, I mean, the mom is taking it, the father is taking it, the daughter is taking it. I said, I cannot fill this out. I'm sorry. Go back to your pharmacy. You know, so we scrutinize every prescription before we fill.
So you've had some instances over the last 2.5 years where you had come to the conclusion that dispensing of certain prescriptions would not be consistent with your mandate of corresponding responsibility, and have you been denying some of the prescriptions? Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
So in this scrutiny of controlled substance prescription, does that apply to all prescriptions, or you just cherry pick certain ones?
All prescriptions.
So based on your past experience now, excuse me, you're still not the pharmacist in charge of your pharmacies. I understand you're still prohibited from doing so. Who is the current pharmacist in charge?
Tom is my PIC now.
Okay. And you've worked with Tom for the last 6 years. And can you describe to us, you know, what have you learned from this partnership? You know, are you ready to resume the position of the pharmacist in charge?
Yes, I am. Tom and I have worked closely together. Tom is well experienced. He's been a pharmacist for over 50 years, and he's ready to retire, you know? So through his guidance, we work together to develop all the, you know, federal and state, you know, laws and compliances in the pharmacy. And also we've trained our staff on how to identify, you know, red flags.
Are there any other areas related to dispensing of controlled substances where you believe you have made some contributions to your community?
I am doing. I am involved with the Lock It Up project. It's a program where we educate youths about the dangers of abuse and you know, abuse of controlled substances and the over-the-counter medications. And I'm also involved with the MAT patients, medication assisted treatment. We also help them out with their, medications, because I work with local providers in the area, to do that. And once my probation was lifted for the pharmacy, I was able to install drug take back, receptacle in the pharmacy where customers, come in and dump in the unused prescriptions. And the community, they like that a lot, And also we do also have, it's called a shop. When they come to dump in their unused medications, they also ask us, do you guys also I have sharp needles I want to dispose. We also have a program with a Med Project. We sign them up. Med Project ships them an empty box to their home where they put their sharp needles and mail. So we have all these programs in the community, which is really helping out.
Okay. So these programs that you're offering to, like this drug disposal, is that something that you provide at no cost to the community and you're paying for it?
That is correct.
I'd like to, you reference medication-assisted treatment. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Is it treatment for patients with substance use disorders? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that is correct.
And what makes you, or what made you want to participate in this type of program?
You see, I was once part of the problem, but now I want to be part of the solution. And it's something dear to me. We are continuing to partner with some local doctors in the area, and we also sell naloxone in the pharmacy for people who are that needs it.
So you're focusing your efforts on areas that where you previously, as you said, you were previously part of the problem by recklessly dispensing controlled substances, and now you want to give back to the community. Is that what we should understand from your presentation?
Yes, that is correct.
So if the board will grant your petition, do you plan on continuing your ownership of Cedar Pharmacy, and you plan on resuming the duties and responsibilities of the pharmacist in charge?
Yes.
Do you believe you're ready for that?
Yeah, I am, because over the past 6 years, or probably the past 10 years, I would say, I've really learned a lot from this whole process. I mean, this probation has taught me a lot. I mean, it has taught me so much, So when my PIC, when he retires, it will be difficult for me to look for somebody else, So I am ready, because I've done my rehabilitations and I'm committed to public safety. I went to Blue Sky Wellness to deliver an hour lecture on opioid use and abuse. They were so happy to see me. And I told them my experience with opioids. They were surprised. They never knew I had such a problem, And I told them my experience with opioid, and they shared their own problems with me, how they got addicted. And, it was, I learned so much from them as well. As much as I was there to lecture, they taught me a lot. So I know better. The boss should trust me. I've made a mistake, and it was foolish of me to to feel it was, I can't believe I made such a stupid mistake 10 years ago. And I'm so sorry.
Oh, can you tell us a bit more about the impact of your continuing probation on the ability of the pharmacy to service all of your patients?
As I said, I was fortunate enough because in the last 2 years, the pharmacy probation was lifted, which was great. But when we applied to renew our contracts with the PBMs, I still have to disclose that I'm on probation, being the owner, and they will deny our contract because of that, and that's has actually reduced my business because people, they don't want to leave our pharmacy, but they are forced to go elsewhere. Let me just tell you a story about, one thing that happened to me yesterday. I went to Quest Lab to do my lab work yesterday in the morning. It was 8:30, it was my turn. I came into the Quest Lab, they called my name within 2 minutes. And behold, the girl who was taking my blood, I said, "Hey, I know you somewhere." And she said, "Cedar Pharmacy." I said, "Oh my God." And I said, "Well, what a small world." And I asked her, "Are we nice to you when you come to our pharmacy?" And she told me, "You always greet me. Your staff, they are so wonderful." And then I asked her, "How do you know about our pharmacy?" She told me her doctor recommended us, to her. I said, "Oh," and I said to her that you've made my day. So she drew my blood, and she told me, "See you in 2 weeks." I said, "Thank you so much." My point is that customers were forced to leave us because people like the fact that you know them by name when they come to your pharmacy and you greet them. And I love what I do. And I've been a pharmacist for 20 years, and I'll be, if board can grant me my full license, I'll be very happy. And I've prayed about this moment. I mean, I pray a lot. And I pray that the board, I've been on probation for 6 years, and it has not been easy. 6 years. And before then, I was in probation with the DEA for 3 years as well. And DEA, they were happy the way I comply with all their stipulations. So it's been over 10 years I'm dealing with the same issue. But as I said, I know the board do not grant probation, lightly. I'll be more than honored if they can grant this wish for, to me. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to. I'm just begging because the shame of being on probation, the shame is every time I have to ask people, "Please, can you write me a letter? Can you write me a letter?" And I'll tell them why. They'll be like, "Oh my God, I never knew you had such a problem." Because I'm always laughing with I'm always very, when people come to my pharmacy, I make them feel welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, in summary, why do you believe that the board should or could trust you in light of the serious mistakes that you've made?
I said before, I'm not perfect, and I've made my mistakes, and I've learned from that mistakes. I've learned from that mistakes. I mean, I'll be a fool. I'll be the biggest fool to repeat the same mistake again. It has cost me It has caused. Do you know, sometimes at night I can't even sleep. I have restless, I can't sleep at night. I have to take Benadryl to make me, because I'm so, it's been for 10 years. This is the first time, to be honest with you, this is the first time in my entire life I've had problem with the law. I have never in my entire life break any law. So it was a shock to me that I didn't know what I was doing 10 years ago. I thought I was, it was just a big mistake.
Thank you.
And I'm so sorry.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Trauma, do you have questions of the petitioner?
I do. Thank you, Your Honor. A moment ago, when you were testifying, you mentioned that you had, when you were speaking to the people at Blue Sky Wellness, that you were sharing your problems with opioids and that they had shared with you. Did I understand your testimony correctly? And if so, can you please elaborate on what you mean by sharing your problems with opioids?
I told them that the problem I had with the Board of Pharmacy and the DEA, that's what I'm trying to say. And they were telling me how they got addicted to opioid as well. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you for clarifying. How, if at all, do you think that your conduct from the original accusation contributed to the opioid epidemic?
Yeah, pretty much. And I regret it. I regret it.
In your prior petition, the decision found that your testimony about the high volume orders that you had filled was less than forthcoming. Were you surprised by that finding?
Because from my understanding, the DHS said that they will lift they'll lift a restriction on my pharmacy license to allow me to fill all prescriptions, to see how I'll handle it. That's what she said. That because I didn't want to fill any more narcotics in my pharmacy after I had this problem, because for me it was traumatic. And the board said, no, you have to fill all prescriptions. And I've done it successfully since my pharmacy license was lifted for 2.5 years now.
Yeah, why were you so hesitant to start dispensing controlled substances again?
It's just that I just don't want to see, not that I can't do it, but I just didn't want to do it anymore, because I was focusing more on, I was growing my pharmacy in other areas like ophthalmology, dermatology, and Fresno County, and pediatric mental health. And I was comfortable doing that. But from my understanding, that doesn't make me a full-fledged pharmacy. I can't turn people away because of that. And I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I mean, I know there's nothing, but now I know my red flags. I know I have to do all the due diligence. I'm okay with it.
And you've been dispensing controlled substances at your pharmacy, correct?
Yes, I am.
And what's the volume of controlled substances that your pharmacy is currently dispensing?
Maybe about 10, 15 a day.
Okay. And are you personally dispensing them, or are these other staff pharmacists?
Me, I am doing, it's me, yeah.
Okay. How many staff pharmacists do you have at your pharmacy?
One.
In addition, so yourself and the pharmacist in charge?
No, just the two of us. I'm the staff. He's the PIC.
Got it. So you have the pharmacist in charge and then yourself.
That is correct.
Okay. And how have your practices changed since the time that you have gotten into what led us to the discipline?
As I said before, I know that corresponding responsibility is a big issue with the Board of Pharmacy. And I've trained myself, I've trained my staffs, I know all the red flags. It's in place. We cannot deviate from that policy.
In your testimony, you talked about a patient who you asked to bring in her profile, and you saw that both she and her parents were taking Norco. How, if at all, are you using cures, the cure system in your practice?
Definitely I do. Because she was kind of desperate. I mean, I looked at her demeanor. She was young, you know. She was, you know, I looked at him, I said, she called pharmacy several times. I said, okay, can you come, let me see your, because normally I would say, okay, and then ask for transfer request from a pharmacy. I said, let me not do that. Let me not be ahead of myself. Let me see your profile first. I mean, I'll still go into cures. I mean, definitely, but I don't want to ask her because she was kind of forced. She was kind of desperate, and I didn't like that. You know, that desperation. That's why I got cautious, a little bit cautious. Yeah.
Do you believe that the board's probation program has made you a better practitioner?
Oh, definitely. Oh my God. I am. Yes, I am I must say, I am a good pharmacist today than I was 10 years ago. There's no question about it. There's no question about that. 10 years ago, I was an idiot. I wasn't thinking.
You had testified that your plan was to become the pharmacist in charge at your pharmacy if you're granted an early termination of probation. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you feel like you're ready to resume those duties. Is that right?
Absolutely.
How has probation changed your view about the role and responsibilities of a PIC or a pharmacist in charge?
It has, because it afforded me opportunities to interact with people who are opioid dependent. I've talked to the community. I've seen people who are, I'm involved with the Med program. I'm more involved with people who actually need help. And I see the devastating effect of opioid abuse and how much it can cost people. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I don't have anything further.
Okay, thank you. And as for the Board of Pharmacy members, Dr. Crowley, do you have any questions you would like to ask the petitioner?
I do, thank you, Your Honor. So I see a lot of the rehabilitation efforts that you've provided, a lot of the changes to policies and procedures, and you provided substantial continuing education. I noticed that there were a lot of them. I think there were a few examples of continuing education where there were like 20 or 30 hours in a single day. So can you just provide us some insight as to how you complete your continuing education?
I was reading them online, you know. I was reading them online.
Okay. Do you tend to complete them all in one day, or do you spread it out? It's just a lot of hours on very specific dates. So I was just a little curious as to how you do that.
Sometimes on one day, sometimes I'll, you know, spread it.
Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions. Good luck on your petition.
Okay. Mr. Joss, do you have questions of the petitioner?
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Dr. Sandhu?
I do have thank you, Your Honor. I have just clarification questions. Here, I thank you for submitting all the documentation. It's pretty extensive. I want to commend you on that. And I want to ask you, you submitted the policies and procedures for training your staff. Can you elaborate on what is that involved? Like how often that happens, or is it in person? Is it video, or who, like, how do you ensure that your staff stays on top of it?
Oh, yeah, we have, we have a meeting, you know, in the pharmacy. I go through the policy and procedure, you know, like every 4 months, every 6 months, and they are aware of the red flags. They know that because they know what I have been through. So we are very, my staff, they are on top of it. Yeah.
Thank you. And I have another question. You know, since you've been allowed to fill all the controls, has your pharmacies been ever flagged by wholesalers as excessive user and asked to fill out any questionnaires?
No, no.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Thibault, do you have questions of the petitioner?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Onwumere, for being here today, and I appreciate your candid testimony. I just had a couple of questions. My first one was about in the accusation, the original accusation, it detailed certain instances where one person had picked up prescriptions for 20 or more patients paying over $10,000. I understand that you were very honest about, you know, the financial incentives there, but wasn't it a concern to you that one person was picking up for 20 some odd different patients? Like, what was the explanation for that you allowed one person to take drugs for that many people?
As I said before, I was stupid, and I can't say it enough. I mean, I shouldn't have allowed that to happen. I should have filled all the prescriptions that I filled 10 years ago, because I didn't know the concept. I was busy trying to grow a new company without thinking that I am violating very serious laws. But today I know better, and it will never happen again. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So at that time, did the money overshadow the concern about that practice? Was that what happened?
As I said, I was the cash patients were generating some revenue, being a new company. Yes, yes, I was. But when I look back today, it shouldn't be the case.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mistake. It was a big mistake on my part.
Great, thank you. The other question I had, I know you mentioned being part of the MAP program, medication assisted therapy. Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of medications you dispense to patients and how you monitor and work with those patients that are using those drugs?
What we do is that we talk to local providers, and they send us the prescription electronically, like the naloxone, like the Suboxone combination, naloxone and all that. So they come to a pharmacy to dispense it. Yeah. And we can, of course, we counsel them on how to use the medications.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. No further questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Weiss, do you have a question?
Just a comment, Your Honor. I just want to thank you, Mr. Onwumere, for being here again, and for your candid telling of your story.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and Ms. Trauma, do you have any follow-up questions?
I do not.
And Mr. Petrozelka, do you have any follow-up questions, or does the petitioner wish to add any testimony?
Just a brief closing, Your Honor, if I may.
Well, I'm not quite asking for closings. I'm asking at this point if there's any more testimony to be given.
No further testimony, Your Honor.
Okay. then we're ready to hear any final closing statement you wish to make.
Thank you, Ron. We have a pharmacist who's been practicing for over 20 years in the state of California and who served in full compliance about 6 years of his probation. And we sincerely believe and respectfully submit for your consideration that Mr. Onwumere had presented sufficient level of rehabilitation that termination of his probation at this time would be in the public interest. Thank you.
Ms. Trauma, any final comments you wish to make?
Yes, Your Honor. Petitioner's been on probation for almost 6 years. He's not had any compliance issues. He seems to acknowledge his wrongdoing. He's provided extensive education in the issues of corresponding responsibility. The people don't object to this petition.
Thank you. Mr. Petrozelka, is the matter submitted?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the matter is submitted and the record is closed, and we are off the record in this matter.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, I'll look to the moderator. Do we want to move forward with the next petition, or how does the board wish to proceed?
Hello, Your Honor. I think that we could go with one more. Would I'd pull the board, just looking real quick. Can we do one more? Would you like to take a bio break?
I'd like a bio break while we test the sound, if that's okay.
Sounds good, Nicole. Can we do 5 minutes?
Why don't we come back at 11:30, so it's about 8 minutes.
Sounds good. It is 11:30, so we are back. So I'd like to take roll. Moderator, are we recording?
This is a moderator. Yes, we are.
Okay, so we'll start with Indira Banks. Cameron Banks is not here. Jesse Crowley.
Here.
KK Jha.
Present, sir.
Satinder Sandhu. Nicole Tebow.
Here.
And I am here also. Back to you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, we are on the record in the matter of the petitions, plural, for early termination of probation filed by Pai and Chan Pharmacy Corporation, doing business as Key Drug Pharmacy, and James Pai. This is Board of Pharmacy case number 6313. My name is Timothy Aspinwall. I'm the administrative law judge assigned to preside at this hearing. And I understand we have James Pai is self-represented, correct?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so you are appearing for both Key Drug Company and yourself, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Record should also note that we have a Deputy Attorney General present, and can you please state your appearance?
Good morning, Your Honor. Nicole Trauma, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. So, Mr. Pai, let me just tell you a couple of things. I don't know if you've been observing the petition hearings prior to yours. Were you able to observe those?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
Okay. So what we typically do is we want to focus on your rehabilitation since the imposition of discipline. So we're not going back to relitigate the old case, but focusing on your understanding of what occurred and any rehabilitation that you have undertaken and undergone since discipline was imposed. We normally proceed with the Deputy Attorney General introducing the case, then I'll swear you in. You'll have the opportunity to say what it is you wish to say, and the board members will ask you questions in addition to the Deputy Attorney General asking you questions. And so do you have any questions at this point?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And do you have any witnesses other than yourself who you want to testify this morning?
No, Your Honor, it's just me.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that, Ms. Trauma, if you can introduce the case, please.
Yes, Your Honor. We're here today on a petition for early termination of probation of a pharmacy and a pharmacist. The underlying accusation alleged that Petitioner Pai, as part owner, CEO, and pharmacist in charge of Petitioner Key Drug Company, violated laws and regulations governing the practice of pharmacy. An audit for the period of January 1st, 2013 through December 31st of 2015 found that the pharmacy had shortages in 29 of the 30 drugs reviewed, indicating that the amount of drugs purchased by Petitioner Pharmacy was less than the total amounts billed to Medi-Cal. The audit further found that Petitioner had billed more than it had dispensed in 14 of the 30 drugs under review. Accordingly, the accusation alleged 7 causes for discipline, that petitioners committed an act or acts involving moral turpitude, dishonesty, fraud, deceit, by billing for quantities of drugs in excess of what they had purchased or dispensed, acting as a wholesaler without a license, attempting to purchase, trade, sell, or transfer adulterated drugs, holding of adulterated drugs, attempting to purchase, trade, sell, or transfer misbranded drugs, the holding of misbranded drugs, and lack of operational standards and security in that petitioners failed to maintain the facility space, fixtures, and equipment so that the drugs were safely and properly prepared, maintained, secured, and distributed. Effective February 4th, 2021, the pharmacy permit and the pharmacist license were revoked. The revocations were stayed, and they were placed on a probationary period for 5 years. To date, Petitioner Pharmacy has been compliant with quarterly reporting to the board, payments for probation monitoring, notification to employees, providing signed and date statements from owners, retaining an independent consultant. To date, Petitioner Pai has been compliant with quarterly reporting to the board, payments for probation monitoring, completion of remedial education, and completion of the ethics course. With regard to costs, the total amount owed is $33,487.25, and petitioners have a remaining balance of $7,032.25, for which they are jointly and severally liable. Petitioners have now filed a petition for early termination of probation, and included in that packet are 4 letters of recommendation, which were verified by board staff. Petitioner Pai also submitted continuing education courses, and Exhibit 1 is the petition packet. It includes the documents that I just described, as well as the notice of hearing, the memorandum of the board, and the underlying decision and orders. The board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same set of exhibits, and that redacted petition has been uploaded to the Office of Administrative Hearings. It was Bates labeled AGO 001 through AGO 100. Request that we mark Exhibit 1, the petition packet, and associated documents, and that those be admitted into evidence.
Okay, the packet is marked as Exhibit 1. Mr. Pai, do you have any objection to the petition packet marked as Exhibit 1 being admitted in evidence for all purposes?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
The packet marked as Exhibit 1 is in for all purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's now petitioner's opportunity to address the board.
Okay. Mr. Pai, if you please raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Please go ahead and tell the board members what you want them to know.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, Deputy Attorney General, esteemed panel, and members of the Board of Pharmacy. I am here respectfully requesting an early termination of my probation. I understand that my actions in the past have warranted this probationary period, and I take full responsibility for any shortcomings that led to this outcome. After being licensed by the Board of Pharmacy in 2003, I worked in several retail settings, such as Save-On Pharmacy and Costco Pharmacy. In 2007, I decided to purchase my own independent retail pharmacy. In 2011, I purchased my second pharmacy, and 1 year later, in 2012, I purchased Key Drug Company, the pharmacy that's currently under probation. Key Drug Company brought upon challenges that I was not prepared for. The pharmacy deals with a lot of long-term care facilities and pre-packaging of medications, an area of pharmacy I was not confident in. Having been the second owner of the pharmacy, with the original owner being an absentee owner, I continued to run the business the same way that it had been running previously. In June of 2016, the pharmacy was inspected by the Board of Pharmacy. At that time, the pharmacy was taking back medications from facilities for destruction. I entered a space of assisted living and repackaging that once again I was not familiar with. Since retaining the same staff, I put the reliance on previous policy and procedures instead of doing my own due diligence. Since the initiation of my probation, I have undergone significant personal and professional growth. I've come to realize the gravity of the errors that led to this disciplinary action. I acknowledge the impact of my actions on the trust and confidence of both the board and the public, and I'm genuinely remorseful for any harm caused. During my probationary period, I have diligently complied with all terms and conditions set forth by the board. I have completed additional continuing educations as well as extra ethics courses, and have consistently maintained the highest standards of ethical conduct in my professional practice. Moreover, I have received positive feedback from my colleagues and supervisors regarding my performance and conduct. I believe that I have demonstrated my commitment to upholding the principles of integrity and accountability that are essential in the practice of pharmacy. I am confident that I have learned from my past mistakes and am fully prepared to resume my professional responsibilities without any further incidents. I am committed to maintaining the highest level of professionalism and ethical conduct throughout my career. In light of the progress I have made and my continued dedication to my profession, I respectfully request the board to consider granting me an early termination of probation. I assure you that I will continue to uphold the highest standards of integrity and professionalism in all my endeavors. Thank you for considering my request. I am sincerely grateful for the opportunity to present my case before the board.
Thank you. Ms. Trauma, do you have questions of the petitioner?
I do. Thank you, Your Honor. With your petition packet, you submitted 4 character reference letters. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, when board staff verified these, 3 of the 4 authors reported they didn't know why you had been disciplined. Did you tell these individuals what the discipline was or why you were disciplined?
I did mention to them that I was asked for the letters of recommendations because I was on probation and the pharmacy was on probation. I let them know that the disciplinary order was on the website and they're free to look at it and review it. To be honest, when I asked them for the letter of recommendations, they were happy to give me one. And I do not know how far, whether they looked into it or not, but I did let them know that I was this was a letter of recommendation for disciplinary actions.
Is there a reason why you didn't tell them about the underlying case, the reason why you had been disciplined?
It wasn't something I was trying to hide. It was more so that I think that if they had questions, they would have asked a little bit more. but in no way, I didn't feel necessary to print out the packet and give it the disciplinary order. But they do know that I am on probation and the pharmacy is on probation.
You stated in your petition packet that when you took over the pharmacy, you made the mistake of continuing the processes in place without considering the legal implications of those processes. What were the processes that you're referencing?
So when I took over the pharmacy in 2012, I was the second owner. The original owner was an absentee owner. He had owned the pharmacy for approximately 30, 40 years prior to that. Some of what the staff was doing was they were taking back medications from long-term care facilities that were in bubble pack. They'd be from our pharmacy that would leave and they'd come back. I know in the community setting, the community independent retail setting, which I'm familiar with, we're not allowed to take back any drugs, but in this area, which is long-term care, I wasn't familiar with it at all. And so we were taking back medications from facilities for destruction.
And were those being redispensed at all to patients?
Some of them, yes.
And you didn't know that practice was not allowed?
Yes, the reason why I didn't know is because there's a high amount of mental health population that we deal with. A lot of these orders were titration orders. So a patient would start on a certain order, and then 2-3 days later, it would be a change order because the patient wasn't being compliant or it wasn't working. We'd receive the medications back, and we'd have to repackage it and resend it. So that's why I didn't know that we weren't supposed to do that.
You had been the pick for almost 4 years at the time of the Board of Pharmacy inspection. Is that right?
That's correct.
So it wasn't like you were new to this pharmacy at the time of the investigation, right?
No, not at all.
And how long have you been practicing as a pharmacist in the state of California?
As of today, about 20 years, but after owning that pharmacy, about 9 years.
Okay. What was the Medi-Cal billing fraud about?
There was inventory shortages. They reconciled our inventory with our wholesalers and what was on hand versus what was dispensed.
Okay. And so were you, I guess, can you explain how you were able to bill more for drugs than having record of receiving?
Yes, we were taking back medications and reusing them. That's why.
I see. There was also allegations that you were reusing drugs from other pharmacies. Is that right?
There were other pharmacies' drugs in our possession. We were taking back medications from the facilities for destruction. That's what the pharmacy had previously been doing in the past. I had a false sense of confidence. I thought this is the way that it was supposed to be done, not being familiar with the long-term care or this bubble packing, pre-packaging kind of pharmacy environment. So that's why we did have other pharmacies in possession.
And can you explain why you had so many expired drugs in your pharmacy at the time of the inspection?
Yes, we had a lot because we were taking back the medication for destruction. What we would do is we had a Stericycle. What was previously done, they'd have a Stericycle, take the drugs back, dispose of the medication in the Stericycle, and Stericycle would come and remove it. Obviously, being a new owner, everything got backed up. We never continued to just weren't. I wasn't able to keep up with everything, and not knowing the law, not knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, just having that false sense of, I relied a lot on the staff.
Do you take personal responsibility for the conduct that led to your discipline?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
Yeah, do you take personal responsibility for the conduct that led to your discipline?
1000%.
Okay, explain what you take personal responsibility for.
I take personal responsibility for being the pick, for being the pharmacist in charge, for not knowing that you're not supposed to take back medications, for not doing my due diligence, checking with the board, checking with the law, seeing how the laws are different. I take responsibility for not calling and asking the inspector, is this what you're supposed to do or what you're not supposed to do?
Sorry, please finish.
No, I just, the probation was a good thing for me. You know, I don't see it as a punishment. I see it as a realization. You know,
Looking
I don't
back,
know everything, so.
excuse me,
Go
looking
ahead.
back on how you were running your pharmacy then versus how you're running it now, what is different?
It's very simple. We don't take back any medications anymore. We're not supposed to. Immediately after the board came in 2016, even before being on probation, we had a corrective action plan. We sent out notices to all facilities. We're not taking back any, we're not allowed to take any. You guys need to have your own stair cycle. You need to have your own destruction for yourself. We signed up with a policy and procedure program where they send us quarterly updates. We'll have staff meetings and go over that regularly. Those are some of the things that we've been doing.
Okay, you've been on probation since February of 2021, correct?
Correct.
And you have a consultant who reviews your pharmacy practices?
Correct.
How often is the consultant at your pharmacy?
Initially, the consultant was there monthly for our terms. I think I can't remember, after 2 or 3 years, we requested them to come quarterly. But at this moment, they're coming quarterly.
What, if anything, have you learned from having a consultant come in?
I own multiple stores. Whether I'm on probation or not, I will continue to use a consultant annually, I think, at least at the minimum. The consultant has taught us, look it up yourself. Make sure you do your own due diligence. Don't trust anybody, what anybody says. I recall my inspector constantly telling me, show me, show me, show me. So, you know, if I have a question about something, I'm not sure, show me. We go to the board website, we look at the law book. We're not still unsure. Call the inspector, still unsure. Ask legal advice. Because just because things were done a certain way doesn't make it right. And the laws are constantly changing. You need to keep up with what's going on. So what was right yesterday might not be right tomorrow.
And how do you keep up with the ever-changing laws?
Scripts, Board of Pharmacy website, webinars are great that the board provides with the DEA. Those are really great because you can listen to them and get a lot of information. Continuing education.
How often does a Board of Pharmacy inspector come into your pharmacy to inspect?
Quarterly.
Okay, and is that a scheduled visit or is that a surprise visit?
Oh, it's never scheduled. It's always a surprise.
So is it safe to say you never know when someone from the board is going to come in and inspect? But you know it's going to happen because you're on probation.
Yes, and even our consultant, we don't know when they're coming. They just come.
Okay.
That's the way we ask them.
Knowing that, does it keep you vigilant about keeping your pharmacy clean and not having any pharmacy violations?
Yes, but thinking about it long term, the pharmacy has to be running this way all the time. It's part of the law. It's part of the rules. So whether the inspector is there or not, we are going to constantly keep it clean. We're not going to take back medications. I mean, that's what most of our violations were.
So you would still keep up these good practices at your pharmacy, even if you knew you didn't have a surprise inspection around the corner.
100%. You know, we've learned a lot through probation. We'll continue to do our self-assessments quarterly. It's a great way to keep up with the laws, and it's a good checklist to have.
And you think you'd still use the services of a consultant as well?
Not quarterly, but maybe annually. Yeah. A surprise visit annually. Yeah, definitely.
And you've served a little over 3 years of a 5-year probationary term, correct?
Yes.
So why do you want to terminate probation now?
There's obviously the financial reasons. We've been cut off from certain PBMs, Express Scripts, and MedImpact. Our wholesaler has cut us off from controls, and something kind of just came up a light. So kind of new is I recently applied for a line of credit and for the business because, you know, with the difficulties of running a pharmacy business nowadays, I had applied for a line of credit, and I never had to put my personal assets on my personal home on a lien. But they said because my license was on probation, even though I showed them the definition of probation for the board, they wouldn't give me any line of credit or any type of financial assistance unless I put my own personal house on a lien. And that's something I didn't really want to do as a business, but if we have to run the pharmacy this way and to keep going, then that's what we would do.
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Thank you. To the board members, Dr. Crowley, do you have any questions?
I just have a couple questions. Thank you, Your Honor. So I know that you had experience in community pharmacy, in independent pharmacy prior to this. Why did you choose to purchase a pharmacy involved with long-term?
Young, ambitious, challenging, entrepreneur. Thought I knew everything. False sense of confidence.
Okay. And then moving forward, what do you see for yourself for your future of pharmacy practice? Do you think you'll stay on long-term care? Do you want to open more pharmacies? What does the future in pharmacy look like for you?
Well, I know the Board of Pharmacy shortly after the inspection had those take-back receptacles. Respectfully, I'll never have that in any of my pharmacies. When people do ask for the take-back receptacles, I kindly let them know, you can go to Safe Pharmacy, find a local chain pharmacy that carries it. But respectfully, everything that's happened to us I'll never have those receptacles in our pharmacy. I don't know necessarily about entrepreneur or opening up more pharmacies or anything like that. I think right now it's just kind of more take care of the patients that we have now, and see what happens from there. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you for coming before us. I know this isn't easy, and I appreciate you being here. Good luck on your position.
Thank you. Mr. Joss, do you have questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Pai, are you currently servicing any long-term care facilities?
Yes.
Okay. I assume they were habituated to take or give the returns to you, which your pharmacy at that point happily accepted. So what is your message to your customers who are used to getting those medication returned? How do you package that message?
It's very easy. We are doing something we're not supposed to. Each facility must be responsible for taking care of their own destruction. There are numbers such as reverse distributor or Stericycle. You can set up an account, and this is the way it should be done, and this is the way that we should be doing it.
So there is a conscious, concerted effort on your side or your consultant pharmacist side to educate the facilities on that?
The facilities that we have a relationship with, yes, there is an effort because number one, we don't want them to feel that it's okay to send back return medications or expired medications to us. It's their disposition. Once it leaves the pharmacy, it cannot come back. And number two, it makes it more lawful because if they're educated, then they know not to bring that upon us, and we know not to bring it upon them. So it's kind of a symbiotic mutual relationship that we try to help each other out.
Sure. What kind of customers do you service in the long-term care field?
Over 90% mental health. We have a strong business with mental health in the LA County area. So there are challenges with that, and it's rewarding.
And are you providing consulting services as well?
Are we providing consulting services? No.
Mm-hmm. No. Okay. All right. No further question, Your Honor.
Thank you. Dr. Sandhu, do you have questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I had just a few. Good morning, James. Thank you for being so candid. I wanted to, I just have a couple of questions. One was the, besides the not supposed to take back the medications and being stored and some, you know, being packaged in temperatures, high temperatures, so on. There was also a billing involved. How do you ensure that the billing that you do now, it's for the right manufacturer? How do you there were shortages. How do you check that now?
So yes, thank you, Dr. Sandy, for asking. So we have a workflow system now to where we scan and verify the medications.
Okay.
So we know, so that helps ensure that the right NDC matches. But obviously, there are times where the technician might override because NDC is not, it's like an OTC item, or it's the same medication, but it's like a pre-filled syringe versus a preservative-free. Obviously, things like that we try to limit. We have pharmacists checking the NDC on the label, and we have our technicians using the workflow system. So I think that's kind of eliminated a lot of the problems.
Do you check those overrides to ensure that these are?
Yes, and they're mostly OTC overrides, Tylenol, things of that.
And then the second question is, when I heard you say that you are retaining a consultant that provide policies and procedure. You have a quarterly that they do now. If they find any deficiencies on their recommendations, what is your process of training and educating and implementing? If you can walk me through that.
Sure. I mean, we have in-services that we do with our staff. We'll call them in sometimes 30 minutes before the store opens, or even if there's enough staff during hours, we'll just have a quick meeting inside the pharmacy, address the situations, address the error, address where our deficiency on. And I think that open communication actually really helps, because we actually hear feedback from our staff too, and advice that they have too. So just that open communication really helps with the in-services.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Dr. Tebow, do you have questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. My question was, so it sounds like you've learned a lot out of this process. Have you taken any learnings from Key Drug Company and applied it to your other pharmacies?
Yes. It should have been the other way around, where the other pharmacies don't do long-term care. We don't take back medications, but now knowing this, number one is that the biggest thing that helped, other than the consultant and inspections, was the policy and procedures, paying for policy and procedures and quarterly updates, going through that. And so we use those policy and procedures and look at the other stores that we have and say, are these policy and procedures matching? Are they similar? I would say that's probably the biggest thing that we've learned. And the fact that there's a quarterly inspector and a quarterly consultant coming in at random, whatever we pick up there, we obviously share the knowledge to the other stores. So.
Great, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Weiss, any questions?
Just a comment, Your Honor. Dr. Pai, I want to say thank you for your thoughtful testimony. I think the experience has really educated and humbled you. I appreciate your entrepreneurial spirit that you started with, and I hope you keep that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weiss.
Okay. Ms. Trauma, do you have any follow-up questions?
I do not.
Okay. Mr. Pai, are there any closing comments you would like to give?
No, I do not have it, Your Honor.
Okay, and then do you submit the matter? Is the matter submitted, Mr. Pai?
Yes, Your Honor, the matter is submitted.
Okay. The case is submitted and the record is closed. We are off the record as to this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Again, I will take the board's lead on how we wish to proceed, whether break for lunch or press ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it would probably be appropriate if we take a break. I'm looking at our board. Yeah, let's take a break. If we can break and resume at 12:50.
Okay. We'll be back at 12:50. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it is 12:50. I will start by taking roll. Moderator, are we back to recording?
This is the moderator. Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Jesse Crowley?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm going to go by the screen. Nicole Tebow?
Here.
AK Jha?
Present.
And Satinder Sandhu. And I am present also. Your Honor, it's back to you.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Is Amer Latif Naik present?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are here in the matter of the petition for reinstatement of Amer Latif Naik. This is Board of Pharmacy case number 6348. My name is Timothy Aspinwall. I'm the administrative law judge assigned to hear this matter. Amer Latif Naik, the petitioner, is, you're representing yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And we also have present here a representative of the Attorney General's office. Ms. Trauma, can you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, Deputy Attorney General Nicole Trauma. I'm appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you. So, Mr. Naik, let me just tell you a couple of things about representing yourself. Were you able to observe the hearings this morning?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
Okay. And so you understand that I will swear you in, you'll be able to give testimony yourself, and that the Deputy Attorney General, Ms. Trauma, may ask you some questions, and the board members may ask you some questions, right?
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses other than yourself who you would like to have testify this afternoon?
No witnesses, just whatever the letters of recommendation.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we'll do is Ms. Trauma will introduce the case, but before she does that, do you have any questions of me regarding the procedure?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Trauma, if you could please introduce the case.
Yes, Your Honor. We're here today on a petition for reinstatement of an intern pharmacist registration. Petitioner has a history with the board, so it makes the most sense to go in chronological order. He was originally issued an intern pharmacist registration on February 17th of 2015. On April 24th, 2017, an accusation was filed against petitioner, and this was based on a conviction from September of 2016 for having a substantially related conviction, specifically driving with a 0.08% or more alcohol content, with an enhancement for having a prior within the last 10 years. Petitioner's blood alcohol content was 0.15%. Petitioner also had a citation from the board, and that was issued in October of 2016. And that was for a 2007 wet reckless and a September 2016 conviction for driving with a blood alcohol of 0.08 or more. The accusation was resolved via a stipulated settlement and disciplinary order. The board adopted it as its decision. It became effective September 27th, 2017, and it placed his license on probation for 5 years, certain terms and conditions, including payment of costs in the amount of $1,827.50. He does have a balance of $1,527.50 on that. Petitioner then enrolled in the Pharmacist Recovery Program, or PRP, and he submitted to a hair follicle test, and on July 31st, 2017, he tested positive for various drugs, including methamphetamine and cocaine. He was ordered to complete an inpatient treatment program, which he completed on November 7th, 2017. He then tested positive again on December 6th, 2017, for amphetamine, methamphetamine, cocaine, and hydrocodone. This positive test resulted in him being terminated from the Pharmacist Recovery Program as a public risk. Then on May 15th, 2018, an accusation and petition to revoke probation was filed against him for his use of controlled substances and violation of his probationary terms. On August 15th, 2018, the matter proceeded to a hearing before an administrative law judge, and the decision found that petitioner used controlled substances in a manner dangerous to himself, engaged in unprofessional conduct by violating the Health and Safety Code and Business and Professions Code for positive tests for the cocaine and the methamphetamine, and that he was non-compliant with the terms of probation requiring him to abstain from the possession or use of controlled substances, and the term requiring him to successfully complete the PRP. The board's final decision and order revoked petitioner's intern license, and that became effective November 14th of 2018. As a condition precedent to reinstatement of his revoked license, petitioner was ordered to reimburse the board for its costs of prosecution in the amount of $7,540, and that amount is outstanding. Petitioner has now filed a petition for reinstatement. Included in his petition are 5 letters of recommendation, of which 4 were verified by board staff. The other author could not be reached. Although not required, petitioner submitted continuing education certificates as well. He submitted a personal statement to the board. He submitted drug adherence assessment reports from April 2023 to August 2023, and a letter from the Lux Recovery Center. Exhibit 1 is the petition packet that includes the documents that I just described, as well as the notice of hearing, the memorandum to the board, and the underlying decisions and orders. The board members and petitioner have been provided with a copy of the same set of documents, and the redacted petition has been uploaded to the Office of Administrative Hearings system. It's been Bates labeled AGO 001 through AGO 172. At this time, we request that the petition packet be marked as Exhibit 1 and be admitted into evidence.
Okay, Exhibit 1, the petition packet is marked as Exhibit 1. Mr. Knight, do you have any objection to the petition packet marked as Exhibit 1 being admitted in evidence?
No objection, Your Honor.
1 is in for all purposes.
Thank you. It is now petitioner's opportunity to address the board.
Okay.
To the members of the board.
One second. Let me swear you in. You'll please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, please address the board as you see fit to do so.
Members of the board, I am sorry about my actions. Those actions were at a different part of my life. And through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I've been able to find my life again. The 12 steps has been the foundation of which I build my life upon. The important aspects of it are a service to others and a reliance upon God. And that's what has restored me to sanity. I have I have abstained from drugs and alcohol. I have enrolled in a rehabilitation that was required of me during my stay. At first, when I was under probation, I did have to complete a month, but I do remember the pharmacist recovery person saying that it would have been better if I had stayed there for longer. So that's why I enrolled in a rehab facility, as well as stayed in the sober living ever since. I have been undergoing for the last year and a half random urine testing, and I have evidence of that if required. I believe that I would like my intern pharmacist license reinstated to a probationary status. That way I can prove to the board that what I'm saying is true. So I would be back into the pharmacist recovery program and be able to show exactly the fruits of my labor. I believe that in this time that I have had my license revoked, I have rediscovered my love of pharmacy, my love of helping others, my love of being a provider and being in service of others. I also understand fully the need to revoke my license because I was a danger not just to myself, but definitely to others. And that my behavior was not fitting for a role of a pharmacist, to say the very least. I don't believe that I deserve to have another chance at pharmacy, but what I would like to impart is I would like another chance, and that I would do my utmost to abide by every rule and standard, to be there for my patients and to be clean and sober throughout. This has been quite a journey, and again, like I said before, I do not believe that I deserve to be a pharmacist, and I will not give any excuses for my behavior. They were mine and mine alone. And the 12 steps have completely changed my life. I still sponsor young other men. I have a sponsor. I am active in the community. I work in a program called Feed the Streets. I have tried my utmost to rehabilitate myself as a person, despite for reasons not related to the Board of Pharmacy to get my license back, but just to become a better human being. And with that, I think I will close my statement.
Thank you. Ms. Trauma, do you have follow-up questions?
I do. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, you had 3 criminal convictions involving the use of substances. Is that right?
That is correct.
And have you completed all of your probationary requirements related to your criminal convictions?
Yes.
And you are not on criminal probation any longer, correct?
I am no longer on criminal probation.
Right. So after that, I guess it would have been your third or arrest for use of drug or alcohol, you didn't get sober right away. Can you explain
No.
to the board why you continued to use substances?
The nature of the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction that I understand it now is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It's what's stated in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That I honestly tried to stop just by stopping, and that wasn't enough. In the 12 steps and in Alcoholics Anonymous, we believe that the disease of alcohol there's a physical component where when you take a little bit, you no longer have the control over your substance use. The mental obsession, which states a lie that gets you closer to a drink or a drug, whatever that might be, telling you, oh, you can do this time. And the third and final part is spiritual malady. And the spiritual malady is the human condition that we all have. I did not understand these three aspects of the disease model, and it took some time for me to understand it. Even my first experience with Alcoholics Anonymous was through the pharmacist recovery program, but it wasn't until my license was revoked and I did it for myself did I really, really change.
So I had a question about that because you were in the pharmacist recovery program, but you were still using substances,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that is correct, ma'am.
So, but you knew you were being tested too, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So how did you think you were going to get away with continuing to use substances while in that program and being tested?
I believe at the time I knew I wouldn't be able to continue. And at that time, I had no power over my disease. And I understand now I'll never have power over my disease, but I believe in a power greater than myself that I call God is able to take the nature of the disease away. This psychic change that I have now was not apparent. Well, when I was going through the pharmacist recovery program, I'm ashamed of my behavior. During that time, I was a victim. I blamed everybody but myself. And I still continued to use despite the repercussions.
So what would you say was like the final trigger or event that led you to become sober?
Having my pharmacist board, my pharmacy license, intern license revoked. It was then that I felt like I had lost everything, that I had nothing more to lose. And it was then that I gave up on trying to do this myself. And I wanted a solution, and I would take any solution that was available to me. And the solution that was available to me was through this 12 steps, through Alcoholics Anonymous, which I am a proud member of, which I every positive thing that has happened in my life, I owe to pharmacists. I owe to the Alcoholics Anonymous.
What is your date of sobriety?
My date of sobriety is November 30th of 2019.
And have you had any relapses since then?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You had listed Lux Rehab that you had attended from, is it August 23rd of 22 through September 24th of 2022? Is that correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay. And is that an inpatient program?
That is an inpatient program.
Okay. And why did you attend an inpatient program in August of 2022?
So what I had issues with, there's a lull that happens in sobriety where I lost my connection with God. And I had felt that I was in danger of using again. My my thoughts, my kept on craving drugs and alcohol again. I couldn't stop, although I didn't actually engage in that activity. I knew that that was coming near. There was. I also understood at the same time that if I wanted to get my pharmacist license restored, I would have to correct everything I did wrong during the pharmacist recovery program. And I'm ashamed to say one of the aspects that I remember about my last hearing at the Board of Pharmacy was that the rehab that I went to before wasn't accredited and didn't do a very good job. So I made sure that the one that I went to now was able to do a good job. I also wanted to get drug monitoring also done, which was paid through my insurance. I work. I am employed, but my salary is less than $30,000 a year. So I was unable to also have drug monitoring and paying for that myself. This was one way I could do so. So there were a number of reasons why I chose to go to rehab. Those were it.
Okay. And can you tell the board members what this program consisted of exactly, whether it was counseling or individual group supports, or what all was required of you for that inpatient program?
Absolutely. There were groups that were done all day. They were done by clinicians. They were done by people who have experience with alcoholism, who have recovered. I had a designated therapist who I would talk to twice a week. A lot of it was to restore us with a sense of purpose in Alcoholics Anonymous. Although the treatment facility was not a 12-step facility, many of the people who worked there were proponents of this, of the 12 steps. And that whatever spare time that I did have, I would attend meetings over Zoom. I would do my step work with my sponsor, but a lot of it was group counseling, individual counseling, and meetings, as well as working with a sponsor.
And then after you left Lux, you went on to attend Meta Sober Living on September 25th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And what does that program consist of?
So that program consists of group counseling from 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday, not on the weekends. Group sessions, group counseling sessions, as well as individual therapy sessions once a week, as well as drug monitoring twice a week.
Okay. And then the test results that you submitted with your petition packet, is that part of the treatment program with Meta Sober Living?
Yes, I believe so. I am also able to provide the full length of my stay. I know that I only supplied a couple months, but.
And how often are you attending AA at this point?
Every day.
And you have you mentioned you have a sponsor. How long have you had your
Yes.
sponsor?
I've had this sponsor for a year and a half.
And do you participate in any sort of like personal counseling or therapy?
Yes, I have a personal therapist as well,
Okay.
who I see once a week.
So you were previously put on probation with the board and you violated those terms.
Yes.
Do you think that at the time that you were put on probation, you didn't take it as serious as you should have?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I did not. Oh, sorry. Absolutely. I thought I was taking it seriously. But it wasn't until after I had lost everything do I fully understand. At that time, I had a victim mentality that this was happening to me, and I couldn't see the most obvious truth that I had done this. Although that seems very obvious to me, it was not that obvious. I'm ashamed of my behavior at that time. I have learned from my behavior, and I believe that I have changed from that person who I was.
So why should the board give you another chance?
I believe, as I said before, I would like another chance. I believe that I have changed as a person. Drugs and alcohol are no longer part of my life. And my love of serving others is parallel to the board's mission. But again, I understand that the paramount position of the Board of Pharmacy is to protect consumers. So that's why I'm come in humbly asking as opposed to deserving.
When at the time you lost your pharmacist intern permit, were you going to pharmacy school?
When I had lost it, no.
Okay.
No,
Sorry, let me backtrack. Where were you enrolled initially as far as pharmacy school?
sure. I was enrolled at California Health Sciences University in Clovis, California. That school has since lost its accreditation.
Okay. So are you enrolled in a school of pharmacy at this time?
No, I am not. I was careful to enroll in a school of pharmacy before I spoke with the board about possibly putting my license in a probationary status before I reapplied to pharmacy schools.
Okay. So what exactly is your plan as far as school is concerned? If the board grants your petition and says, that you're entitled to this license, will you re-enroll or what's the plan?
My plan is to re-enroll in pharmacy school. I have my sights set on Touro University, Western University, North State, as well as other pharmacy schools. I have a PharmCast application. I have letters of recommendation. I just haven't submitted them yet.
So would the plan be to try to enroll for the fall, or are you too late to enroll for the fall?
The plan would be to enroll in the fall. I have until June 1st with Touro University and June 3rd with Western University.
Okay. And you're waiting to hear the decision on this matter before you proceed forward with those applications?
Yes, yes.
I understand. Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Crowley, do you have any questions of the petitioner?
I do, thank you, Your Honor. I guess my first question to start off is, why do you want to be a pharmacist and why do you want to work in pharmacy?
I love pharmacy. I smile when I'm talking about pharmacy. To be able to actually serve others is the reason why I want to become a pharmacist again, to be of service to others and to provide them with healthcare. In my family's practice, my father was a physician. My grandfather was a physician. So were my uncles and aunts. And to come back to the healthcare facility just feels like I'm coming home to a field that I've always been around. I love everything about it, from communicating with patients to understanding medication. I fell in love with the field, and I understood how important it was to me this field after I had lost everything.
Great, thank you. So I know you mentioned that you attend Alcoholics Anonymous. In your packet, at one point, it does mention that you consider yourself a drug addict. Is that correct?
Yes. May I explain?
Yes, please.
So the point in Alcoholics Anonymous is that once you have drug addiction and once you have alcoholism, that it's a part of you. And by only serving a selfless, practicing a selfless practice and a reliance upon a power greater than yourself, would you be restored to sanity. But this would have to be continuous. There are no breaks to providing a selfless service or a reliance upon God. I do believe that I have recovered from this disease, but from now on, I understand that it's always a possibility. That's why I stay vigilant.
Okay, thank you. My follow-up question to that is if you've ever attended Narcotics Anonymous, just considering that the positive drug tests during your PRP program were for other illicit substances and not alcohol. I'm wondering if you can provide some insight into that.
I've also attended NA meetings. A lot of people who have drug addiction issues also attend AA meetings. The difference being the sense of spirituality and just the book that it's based off. So I relate more to the big book than I do to the NA book, which is why I talk more about AA. But most of the people who are in AA are in AA not just for alcohol, but for a drug issue. It's a matter of preference of the style in which they practice their program. Do people gravitate towards NA or AA? But I've been to both.
Great, thank you. I have a few more questions, but thank you for your patience. I know this was a lot. So getting back to 2022, you chose to enroll in a program. Was there a particular circumstance or stressor in your life that made you feel disconnected from God and made you feel like you would use again?
Yeah, I'm ashamed to say I was homeless. This was during the pandemic. I had lost my job. I was angry, and I just didn't have any sense of direction or where to go. Part of going to rehab and sober living was I would be provided a housing as well. So that was a big factor when it came to my decision. But it was losing my job, COVID happening, and just feeling disconnected with God. And I knew that I needed program to be able to be reconnected with Him.
Thank you. I really appreciate your vulnerability too. I know it's hard to talk about. So, of course, getting back into a pharmacy program is going to be rigorous. There are going to be other stressors as well. So do you have a relapse prevention plan? And how do you plan on, number one, dealing with the stressors or any triggers that you might have, but also being around illicit substances? And particularly when you do become a pharmacist, you're the person who's in control of protecting that. So what is your plan for the exposure, but also for preventing relapse for yourself?
So my understanding with exposure is I understand that is an illicit substance and it's medication to other people, but it's an illicit substance to myself. I don't want to sacrifice my sobriety. I'm keeping my sobriety strong by still going to meetings, still sponsoring men, having a selfless practice, and a reliance upon God, and that is the core to my my own diversion program. To even if I were to go back to pharmacy and through the stresses and rigors of that, I still have meetings that I can go to. I've developed a social circle of friends in AA that I can rely upon and that I can talk about, that I could talk with my issues about. And that's what has gotten me through that time, the rough time where I was homeless, as well as what I believe will get me through the rough times if I am reinstated to and attending pharmacy school.
Are there any additional stress relievers or ritual that you have in your daily life outside from attending meetings in the social circle?
Sure. Prayer and meditation. As well, I do yoga as well. That has really helped. I think that prayer and meditation is helpful for everyone, but particularly for people of my affliction. Meditation, especially, I think meditation and prayer are life-changing.
I don't have any other questions. I just want to thank you again for your vulnerability, for being able to share all of this with us. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing what happens about the new petition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jha, do you have questions?
No, Your Honor, no questions.
Okay. Dr. Sandhu, do you have questions?
I just have one question. First of all, Ms. Knight, thank you so much. Just like my colleague mentioned earlier, I want to echo her sentiment. Thank you for being vulnerable and being candid, answering questions patiently we had. I remember I had just a follow up on kind of the themes that my colleague earlier brought it up, is that it's around stressors. And one of the stressors that you had mentioned was that loss of father early on, and also you talked about your family situation, married, child, so on. Have you addressed that area of your life? Like, how do you said that was a contributing factor.
Yeah.
So if you can elaborate on that.
Sure. So one of the steps in Alcoholics Anonymous is the 9th step, where you make reparations to where you owe reparations to. So you make a list of people that you have wronged, and you go to them and ask for their forgiveness. Essentially, I think that was a very healing aspect of that, and that's brought me closer to being able to forgive myself. When I lost my family, when my father passed away, I wrote a letter to my father, even though he passed away, saying, I forgive him for passing away, and that I wish I could see him, and I wish I could say goodbye, and that I've gone through this, and that I've become a lot better. And that process of healing has really made my past, those past stressors, not just tolerable, but a part of my identity, and how I can relate to other people who have the same issues in Alcoholics Anonymous and be able to help them, saying, this is what I did, this is how my life was changed, and this is how your life can change too.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Dr. Thibault, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today with us and for sharing your story and your vulnerability. I'm really glad to hear that you've had such a good experience with AA. But as you know, it doesn't work for everyone. And in pharmacy, we have to treat people in other ways. Some people who maybe AA isn't the right choice for them. Can I ask you, what are your feelings about medication-assisted treatment for substance use disorder?
I believe that it definitely has a place, and AA doesn't work for everybody. There's a necessity, especially with an opiate addiction, to have some kind of medication assistant treatment when trying to get off and in layman's terms, get off the harder stuff. Um, that Suboxone or those medications that will help with the cravings that a lot of drug addicts have definitely has a place. I particularly did not need them, but just because I did not need them, do I believe that different approaches aren't necessary? So there are patients here who do take medication for their addiction disease, and it has worked for them just to be able to to do the things day to day without the feeling of craving following them everywhere. I've seen them change their life through that.
Great, thank you. And do you think that if we granted your license, you became an intern and eventually a pharmacist, how do you think you would feel treating people with substance use disorders, including people with alcoholism who are taking medications to treat that? How would you be able to, one, use your experience, but also separate your experience to be able to serve these patients?
Absolutely. Uh, what has worked for me and has I believe works for others is that the people who can most relate to people who are suffering from addiction are people who have suffered from addiction themselves. I know there are addiction therapists who have never had an addiction before and who have been successful, but knowing what I know and helping as many people as I have helped through AA, I understand that being able to relate to them on this level, and especially being a practicing healthcare practitioner, is unheard of and would definitely help break down the walls that patients see with their providers when it comes to this specific ailment. Um, and I would believe that I would be able to separate myself from my own addiction and my own alcoholic tendencies, and able to treat others who are experiencing addiction issues through understanding evidence-based medication and understanding certain requirements, essentially the training that a pharmacist must go through in order to treat. I would be following those as well, and I would understand how important those are. I feel like I would be an asset to the community of the population of people who are suffering from addiction. I would be able to be a provider that can understand them on many levels that most providers probably won't be able to.
Great, thank you so much. My last question was, when the board reinstates a license, there can often be limitations on it. We may put the person on probation, which could follow through to a pharmacist license, all of that. Are you aware of that, and are you okay with that if that's what the outcome is?
Yes, absolutely. I think it would be necessary to put me on probation. Although I have changed as a person, I would like the Board of Pharmacy to see these changes through evidence, real objective evidence themselves. And I feel because of my psyche, because of the changes that I've gone through, this time will be entirely a different experience, and one that I believe the board can look at me and say, person really does care about others and does care about public safety.
Thank you so much. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss, any follow-up questions?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Hi, Mr. Knight. Thank you very much. I want to echo my fellow board members' comments, thanking you for appearing here. We know it's not easy. So thank you. Thank you for that. Can you tell me, how often do you attend meetings now?
I attend them almost every day, mostly every day. I have a different meeting. I have a meeting on Monday, a men's meeting on Tuesday, a group meeting on Wednesday, another meeting by my house where I have a commitment on Thursday, another meeting around my house that I do not have a commitment, a meeting on Saturday, a speaker participation meeting on Saturday that I have a commitment with. And on Sundays, I gravitate towards different meetings to kind of spice up the monotony of the same meetings and meet other people and primarily find newcomers in which to sponsor.
And to follow up on that, how many people do you sponsor currently, and have you in total? For
about 20, about 26 or 27 total.
Wow. Okay. And if you were to have your license, your intern license reinstated, you may not be able to attend as many meetings or have them as frequently. Is that concerning to you, or you have a plan for that?
Oh, yeah. Well, the basis of Alcoholics Anonymous isn't the meetings, although it does help. It's actually taking for me, since I'm male, another man through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's the basis of what the big book says when the first 100 men and women who first got sober, who wrote the book, that's what they keep on speaking about, is the only way to keep what you have is to give it away. So even if I don't have the meetings, as long as I have men who I can share the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous with, as long as they are in my life, I'll be fine.
Okay. Thank you for that. And congratulations. Really, you've come a long way. Congratulations on your many years of sobriety, and congratulations on truly seeing yourself and how to get out of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Ms. Trauma, do you have any follow-up questions?
No follow-up questions.
Okay. And is there any final words you would like to say, Mr. Naik, either in closing or in response to questions you've had?
Just to close, I want to thank them. I want to thank the Board of Pharmacy for listening to my case. And I also want to say again, I don't believe that I deserve another chance, but I'm asking for another chance. I love pharmacy. I want to be of service to others. But the patient safety for the population of California is the most important thing. So if you find it that not at this time am I able to, I would completely accept it. I leave it to the Board of Pharmacy and your wisdom.
Thank you. Then the petition is submitted. The record is closed, and we are off the record. Go ahead.
May the people be heard on a closing remark?
You may be heard. Go
Thank
ahead.
You. Petitioner.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, petitioner has requested reinstatement on probation, and the people believe that this is appropriate. If the board is inclined to reinstate, a period of probation would be appropriate with standard terms and conditions and substance abuse terms, including participation in the pharmacist recovery program, abstaining from drugs and alcohol, and testing. But, and this is important, the intern permit would need to be contingent on proof of enrollment in a school of pharmacy, because that is a requirement for having an intern permit under Business and Professions Code 4208. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else before we close the record on this matter? Hearing nothing, the matter is submitted and the record is closed, and we are off the record in this matter. And I believe at this point we go into executive session, but I'll take the lead from Mr. Weiss.
Yes, Your Honor. I think we will now stay where we're at, and we'll head into closed session. I think that we our staff needs a brief amount of time to get things in order, so we can reconvene in 15 minutes. And well, can we make it 20 and meet at 2 o'clock?
We will meet again at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, 2 o'clock. Let's meet at 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have finished with closed session, and this committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.